In a small town in the Midwest, there lived a man named Ben Carter, who owned a cozy little bakery on Maple Street. Every morning, the smell of fresh bread filled the air, drawing people in, not just for the pastries, but for Ben's warm smile. Ben had a heart as soft as his bread. If someone came in hungry but couldn't pay, he'd simply say, "Don't worry about it, kid. Everyone deserves to eat. Homeless folks, struggling moms, little kids from the neighborhood." He never turned anyone away. His wife Laura sometimes worried. "Ben, you give away half the bread you bake," she'd sigh. But Ben would chuckle and say, "Bread's meant to be shared, not counted," he'd say with a wink. "Besides, a full heart feeds you longer than a full pocket." Years passed, and one chilly morning as Ben was pulling loaves from the oven, he suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed. Laura rushed him to the nearest hospital, terrified. The doctor came out moments later, face serious. "It's a heart attack," he said. "He needs surgery right away, but it's expensive." Laura's eyes filled with tears. They didn't have that kind of money. She begged the doctors to start while she tried to gather what she could. All day she ran, to friends, neighbors, anyone who might help. But by the time she returned, exhausted and holding only a handful of money, the surgery was already over. The doctor met her at the door. "Your husband's going to be fine," he said with a smile. Laura froze. "But how? I haven't paid yet." The doctor pointed toward the waiting area. A young man stood there, in his late 20s, holding a small paper bag of pastries. He walked up to Laura and said softly, "Mrs. Carter, years ago, I was one of those kids your husband used to feed when I didn't have a dime. He'd hand me a loaf of bread and tell me, 'Someday, when you can, help someone else in need.'" Tears rolled down Laura's face. The young man smiled gently. "Today, I finally got my chance to return what he once gave me. Not bread, but life." When Ben woke up and heard the story, he held her hand, smiled weakly, and whispered, "Sometimes the smallest things we do come back in the biggest ways." Kindness is like a seed. When you plant it in someone's heart, it may take time, but it always grows and returns. We may forget our good deeds, but the world never does. One act of compassion can travel far, and one day, it might just save your life.